Today's podcast is sponsored by the Association of Mature American Citizens. It's the only conservative alternative, folks, to AARP, that other group. Go to amac.us/Carter. That's amac.us/Carter. Today, I have a very, very special guest on the show. It's somebody who I admire greatly and somebody who I believe whose story absolutely needs to be told. If you haven't heard of him, he is the former ICE Immigration Customs Enforcement agent, special agent in charge, Victor Avila. And he has some big news for us. Victor Avila, he's a native Texan from El Paso. He was ambushed by cartel members 10 years ago. He survived this ambush in Mexico, but his partner, Jaime Zapata, did not. This was in February 2011. He is going to tell his story, and he's going to make a very big announcement here on the Sara Carter Show that you do not want to miss. I am telling you, you do not want to miss it. You know, I've spent a lot of time covering the border, and there is a reason for that. You guys, please follow and subscribe. Get all the links at saracarter.com. That is saracarter.com. You'll also find all of my social media links there, all of the top stories. And while you are there, it is our brand new website. I would like you to sign up for our email list. This way, you will not be shadow banned. Now, why do I have Victor Avila on the story today? And why am I just going to focus on him and his story and what that means to all of us? Because there is a very serious crisis in our nation right now. And that crisis is like an elephant in the room. It's masquerading itself. For the most part, our government is ignoring it. Our agents on the front line, though, those Border Patrol agents, those ICE officers that are charged with protecting our nation, not only against terror threats, but against the threats of criminal narcotics organizations that have hundreds of billions of dollars and who have taken the lives of our children and our families and our friends. They are doing the toughest job. And the Biden administration is basically just left them to hang in the dust. I'm going to explain why. I'm grateful that he's going to be making this big announcement about this new law and that it got signed under the Biden administration. I'm going to let him tell his whole story about how it got to this point, and I'm going to let him tell you what he plans on doing about it to protect not only why he's protecting the residents of Texas, but in effect, the citizens of the United States. You are not going to want to miss this interview, folks. Trust me on that. You know my friend Mike Lindell. He's the inventor and CEO of MyPillow, and he has been keeping a close eye on the recent supply chain issues. You know, all those supply chain issues that we're dealing with China and everybody else. And he wants you to know that MyPillow is in stock, guys, with no back orders and no delayed shipping. That means Christmas presents for everyone in your family. That's because the MyPillow is made 100% right here in the United States, and they have built a huge inventory to ensure their customers have gifts for everyone. Christmas is not canceled with MyPillow. Everything from the MyPillow, from their lowest prices ever to sheets, slippers, robes, and now cardigans, it's all in stock and ready to ship straight to you. Shop with confidence knowing you'll receive your gifts at no time with no issues. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. And I can't even begin to tell you, the Giza Dream Sheets are one of my favorite products, although I love all of their products, and my dogs absolutely love their MyPillow sleepers. These dog pillows are amazing. I don't even have to worry about my dogs wanting to come on the bed, because guess what they do? They sleep in their own beds in our room on their MyPillow sleeper pillows. They are incredible, folks. It's a great Christmas present for anyone and everyone. Go to mypillow.com and click on the radio listener specials. 4 specials like 40% off all my slippers. Got a pair of those for my daughter and a pair for myself. And 50% off MyPillow mattress toppers. Enter promo code Carter, CARTER, or call 1-800-685-7221 for great MyPillow specials. That's 1-800-685-7221. Use the promo code Carter at checkout. Save now just in time for the ultimate gift in comfort with the best deals of the year on all MyPillow products. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Victor Avila, for being on the show today. There are a few guests that I think stories are so important that we don't want to miss them, that we need to hear them. And Victor's story is one of them. As I said at the top of the show, you know, he's a retired Immigration and Customs Enforcement supervisory special agent. He survived a harrowing incident in Mexico. I'm going to have him describe this in his own words. He wrote the book. You wrote this phenomenal book, Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto. And now you're here today on the Sara Carter Show to tell your story and make a very, very important announcement. So you guys do not want to miss this. There's a couple of major developments that have happened because of Victor Avila, and I really want to get that information out there. So thank you, Victor, for being on the show.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me today. I'm very excited to share that news. But first, also to just tell your audience a little bit about who I am. As you mentioned, I'm a retired agent, and we did go through this horrific attack back on February 15th of 2011 while I was assigned to the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of people don't realize that ICE agents spend time overseas as well in embassies, right? I mean, I deal a lot with people in ICE supervisory agents both in Central America and in Mexico, and that's where you were at working at the time with your partner, Jaime Zapata, right?
That's right. And we're all over 76 countries. We have presence there. And ICE does Homeland Security investigations, FBI, DEA, and many of these offices. We're protecting the homeland. And that's what we were doing. We work cases, anything that has a nexus to our border, we get to investigate those cases. We're talking about all types of trafficking, human smuggling, drugs, arms trafficking, commercial fraud, a lot of things, anything that touches that border, we have that jurisdiction to investigate. And that's what we were doing in Mexico. As you know, Mexico is a mess. 10 years ago when I was there, stationed there, I didn't think things could get worse. And unfortunately, they have gotten worse. And a lot of it has to do with this illegal alien and the open borders policy that we see today. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, back on 2011, Special Agent Jaime Zapata and I were attacked on Highway 57, which is a main corridor between Mexico City that we would travel this road to go up to Texas. On the way back from an assignment, we were ambushed by Los Zetas cartel and shot at over 100 rounds. And Special Agent Jaime Zapata tragically lost his life in the line of duty. Next to me, I was shot 3 times, and once in my chest, twice in my left leg. And I am here by the grace of God to be able to share the story and also to continue fighting for a lot of other things that have come about after that, what I call the aftermath of the shooting, which sometimes I compare it to the shooting, which is probably worse.
It's got to be haunting, Victor. I mean, surviving something like that, and then it's just incredible that you've taken this tragedy and really put it into doing good, you know, taking this and being a voice for the voiceless. You know, after Enrique Camarena was killed in Mexico, and probably a lot of people don't know this, but he was the first DEA agent. They called him Kiki. His nickname was Kiki Camarena, and he worked undercover in Mexico during the drug wars in the 1980s. You know, he was survived by his family and his children. He was tortured in Mexico. It was a horrific killing. And then, you know, we see this incident with you, and we know how far the corruption seeps, right? I mean, this is not just about, when you're working in Mexico, you're not just working against Los Zetas. You have people all around you that are being paid off by Los Zetas, being paid off by Sinaloa Cartel. You've got money exchanging hands. Is that how they located you guys? I mean, was that like, is it just that terrifying that we have not been able, it's only gotten bigger, we haven't been able to stop it, that this corruption from the drug money in the hundreds of billions of dollars has become a national security threat for us and for the Mexican people?
That's absolutely what it is. It's a national security threat and public safety issue for not just our border states, for our whole country. And I want to touch on what you mentioned with the corruption, because we dealt with that on a daily basis with Mexico. And I'll just give you an example. The 2 top people that we dealt with in Mexico are in custody right now. They were both Sinaloa cartel members all along. He was the head of the Genaro Garcia Luna, the head of the federal police that we dealt with almost on a daily basis. The number 2 of the federal police, Luis Cardenas Palomino, was the one that responded to the hospital when I got shot, and he's the first Mexican official, the high-ranking official to arrive to the hospital. He's in custody for torture charges and corruption charges, and obviously drug trafficking charges. Also a Sinaloa cartel member. Yes, we were embedded with them, working with them. But people say, "Well, didn't you know they were corrupt?" It's just that it's not that we didn't know. It's that that's the people that the government put that we had to deal with, and we had to navigate through those issues on a daily basis. Absolutely. And now it's even worse because the cartels have shifted. In the last 10 years, have taken over. I always say it, they are running a parallel government in Mexico. That's how much the control of the cartels have come in Mexico, which affects us tremendously because they're involved in not just forget the drug trade and the human smuggling and trafficking that we're going to talk about, but the politics, the media, the avocado trade, the gas and oil, the lime trade. They're involved in a lot of hands, and especially the political world where now the cartel gets to call the shots rather than the politician.
Wow, it's like a shadow narco state, so to speak, like a shadow government operating right beneath the veil of a real government, of a real democracy. And you know what scares me too is I think about this. It's not just about Mexico. I tell people all the time, this is about the United States. With the trafficking that we see coming across the border, the narcotics, the illegal contraband, but also it's hundreds of billions of dollars. The cartels can run with impunity. They can have their own satellite systems and, surveillance technology, and they don't need to worry about the government and passing legislation to fund their armed gunmen, right?
That's a great point. They don't have a budget. Their budget is limitless. And they have a lot more money that the United States has to combat them. And plus, they're headquartered in Mexico, but they're everywhere around the world in over 40 countries. Number 1 in the United States because the product, the drugs, the methamphetamine, the fentanyl is where it's coming here. We just had the brand new stat come out of over 100,000 deaths due to this poison that the cartels continue to come into our country. Now, you've heard back in the 80s where the big crack epidemic and the big stink that was done and all, it was all over the news. And that was 10,000 deaths. We're at 100,000. No one blinks an eye in Washington, D.C. But I always tell people when I do my speaking engagements, think of the cartels as Amazon. When you think of Amazon, what do you think? You think of a large corporation, billion-dollar corporation, organization, distribution. They're everywhere. And organized. That's the cartels. They're highly sophisticated, well organized. They are everywhere in our country, not just in Mexico. And yes, they are producing the drugs with the help of China. The methamphetamine and fentanyl is with the precursors and chemicals that China provides. And
would you call that irregular warfare? Would you call that irregular warfare? In my opinion, it is. Like when China sends precursor chemicals to Mexico so that they can create their own fentanyl, like, okay, we're not shipping it anymore. Triads aren't doing that, but we're just sending the other groups and the Chinese government, they're moving in those precursor chemicals, and then they're seeping into the United States, and our children are dying from taking maybe one pill that they thought was Adderall, and they are dead now because they were so stupid because we're kids. I'm going to put myself in the box. I was a kid once. I made bad decisions sometimes, but now they're dead. I mean, to me, that is a form of irregular warfare. That's a national security threat.
And I see, I did a talk the other day in San Antonio, and I got very excited because there's some communities around the country and some police departments that are starting to charge some of these deaths as homicides, because they are. I consider them a direct death from the cartels when they know that they put this poison in these counterfeit pills, and they're all over. Now they're saying, DEA says it's 1 in 4 pills is counterfeit out there. So it's not the same as when your kid, back in even 10, 15 years ago, you could experiment. Now you're playing Russian roulette with your life.
Right. I want to take you back to that day because, and I hate doing this, but I want to hear from your own words what it was like. And I know if you don't want to talk about it, I get it. But what it was like for you and Jaime, what that day was like, if you could just give us a little background on that story and what it was like for you I mean, getting to the hospital, or, did you think you were going to just tell me about that day? Because I want people to really connect with you, to imagine themselves, as you guys are listening to this, to imagine yourself or your family member in this type of situation, and then just realize what an incredible man Victor is and Jaime was, and what the risks that our ICE agents and others take every single day. Whether it's Border Patrol agents or ICE officers out there on the front lines, or our federal law enforcement or our DEA, these are the men and women that are willing to risk everything.
Well, Sarah, and I have no problem sharing the story. I do so in memory of Agent Zapata. It was actually a beautiful day on February 15th. That was one of the perks of working in Mexico. It was 72 degrees. I told Jaime, this is San Diego weather. It's one of the perks of being out here. And we were picking up some equipment from our counterparts from the Monterey ICE office, picked up that equipment, which is a lot of boxes. And we're driving back to Mexico City. And after we passed the state of San Luis Potosí, Jaime had taken the wheel at that point. And within 15 minutes of him driving, we were ambushed, and really with these two SUVs full of gunmen. We didn't know there were Zeta cartel members at that time, but they forced us off to the right shoulder of the highway. And when I call it a highway, don't think it's a desolate highway. It's like I-35. It's this huge, toll road. It's the safe road, quote unquote safe road. But the Zetas control that area. And we knew that, and there's a whole other backstory of me challenging that story because of the alert that was out there that my office ignored. But we find ourselves being stopped at the shoulder of the road, and these gunmen with AK-47s surround our Suburban. We are in an armored Suburban, yet in the middle of, they're trying to open the doors, trying to get us out. In the middle of us hitting the buttons, the lock buttons and the window buttons, my window, armored window, was rolled down for a couple of inches that we didn't know. And in the time that I was yelling at these evildoers in Spanish, identifying myself as Americans, U.S. Embassy employees, U.S. diplomats, look at the vehicle, it's a diplomatic vehicle. We're Americans. By the way, they did hear me. They testified in the trial that they, in fact, did know that we were Americans. And during that time, all of a sudden, two of them introduced an AK-47 and a handgun by my head. And I rolled up the window and caught the barrels of both guns. And they were struggling with the guns. And I was, trying to barricade. We couldn't run to the back of the Suburban because it was full of boxes. And without warning, they opened fire into the cabin of the Suburban, striking Special Agent Jaime Zapata multiple times on his side and lethally in his left leg. I got hit in my chest and my left leg, and somehow I grabbed the gun, burned my hand, trying to wiggle the guns. They eventually pulled them out. The window went up. I rolled the window up, and they sprayed that Suburban with hundreds of rounds. And there was an initial shooting. While Jaime was still conscious, we crashed the Suburban in front to get onto the highway, try to get out of the X that they call it. But at that point, he became unresponsive, and we rolled into the median. And on the way where it ended, the Suburban ended up, the SUVs took off, but one of them made a U-turn, came back, two of the shooters came out, exited, and right in front of me and right in front of the Suburban, started shooting at the windshield. And if you see pictures online, you'll see the two shots where they were trying to penetrate the bulletproof glass to get through it. And I guess they thought that it had, but it didn't. That's the point where I just kind of froze there. And I went through all the fight, flight, and, freeze stages, and they left. And that's where the fear, a lot of people ask me, were you afraid during the shooting? I didn't even feel that I had been shot, and the fear, the adrenaline and all was going through my body. But the fear set in when I realized that I was in Mexico. And I say that as a Mexican American and a proud American, and I love my heritage, but I'm an American, and I felt so alone and so lonely being in that country because I'm not from there. And I could have been in China for all intents and purposes. And that's when the fear set in, because I knew in my heart they were going to kill me at the hospital, because I've investigated these cases where cartels go and finish people off that were remained alive at the hospital. And so the only person I trusted from the federal police is the one I got on the phone with. He was able to dispatch people that were trustworthy in order for them to rescue us. That took 40 minutes. That's a long, long time in the police world. Seconds matter. So 40 minutes is an eternity to be in that road. Eventually, they did rescue us, took us to a hospital in San Luis Potosí. and I refused any medication. I thought they were going to kill me. I thought the hospital was in on it. Jaime was taken to one operation and trauma room. I was taken to another, and they were working on us. They assumed that we were Mexican federal police officers, which I was okay with until the reinforcements came in. They secured the hospital. Then I let them know that I was an American and that we were U.S. Embassy employees and U.S. agents. And you see them kind of react like, oh, we have an international incident in our hands.
That's an incredible story. I can't even imagine. Well, being in the war zones, I always understood that kind of fear that could happen, that, even as a journalist, I could be kidnapped or, and I've had friends die, very close friends, on the front lines. And I just can't even imagine, though, what you must have been going through in your mind, waiting for 40 minutes to be rescued, bleeding out, ending up at a hospital, watching your friend, your best friend, your partner sitting there next to you. And so you are a real hero, Victor Avila. You are, somebody who probably didn't want to, probably never thought about it when you were a kid that you were going to end up in this situation, but you really put everything on the line for our country, and you're still doing it today. And that's why I am so grateful to have you on the show, because you actually have a few announcements to make. There's some really great news, a law that went into effect that is named after you. You were with Senator Cornyn this week here in Texas, in Fort Worth. Was it Fort Worth, Texas, where you were at celebrating?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you tell everybody about that? I'm going to leave this. I'm going to let you make these big announcements. I'm not going to do it because I think they're going to get why at the next announcement, why I'm letting you do this.
So the first thing is we're very proud of this law, but unfortunately the reason why we had to get this law is because two of the shooters appealed their sentence that were convicted. They were convicted to 2 consecutive life sentences, and they said that murder conviction that was used against them was null and void because a murder happened extraterritorially, meaning it happened outside of the United States. And the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeal agreed with them and dismissed the murder charge. They vacated the murder charge. This happened 2 years ago. And I couldn't just sit there and do nothing about it. And so I get on the phone with legislators, Senator Cornyn's office, the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, and I had to do something about it, and we did. We drafted a new law, and it's the Jaime Zapata and Victor Avila Federal Officer and Employee Protection Act that was signed into law. Ironically, Biden signs it last month. You can't make this up. This is just the way things happen. But this happened under Trump. We had to support, and it's bipartisan support. How can you not support our agents that are serving abroad? But this law is actually stronger. And we were not invited to the signing ceremony that Biden
This is
had
what's
last
so
month.
crazy. This is so crazy.
Yes.
I got to reiterate. So all of you out there that are listening, the law is named after Victor Avila. He almost lost his life. He probably only by the grace of God, he did not. He lost his partner, his best friend, Jaime Zapata. The law is named after them, and he does not get invited to the signing of this law by the White House. Did you ever find why? Why did this?
Nope.
Why?
They had plenty of opportunity. I was literally on standby, and Senator Cornyn's office and say, just wait for the call to get you there. The text that I did get is that, by the way, the signing ceremony is on this date the following day in the morning, and we're not invited. And I called Mrs. Zapata and asked her, and she says we weren't invited as well. And it's just kind of reminded me. It did open old wounds, and it did hurt not to be invited, but it's just a reminder that they truly don't like law enforcement. They hate border agents. They don't support law enforcement, but they were forced to pass this law. And that's what I focused on. I focused on the passage of the law and the good that this law brings in the future for any of this other incidents so they could seek justice. But Senator Cornyn did a great job, and he said, don't worry about it, Victor. I'm going to recognize you and Jaime. And so he did this past Monday in Fort Worth, Texas. And it was a great ceremony. And he presented me with a copy of the actual law that I'm going to put up here in my office. Very proud of that moment. I got to share that with my family. And so I wanted to share that with your audience as well.
What about Zapata's wife? What about Jaime's wife? Is she going to get a copy of it?
He was not married.
Well?
He was not married and did not have kids. He had a fiance at that point.
Oh,
and
that's
so,
right.
They're going to go honor him and with his parents and his brothers.
Oh, that's fantastic.
In the Brownsville area. So they're going to be doing that.
Great. That's going to be really important because I want to see that everybody, connected to this get honored. What do you think about the Biden administration under right now, the way they're handling the custom and immigration and customs enforcement office, what with the DHS, with the Border Patrol, how they've handled the legality issues that we've seen, overturning everything from the Trump administration now, and the issues that we've seen arise at this, I call it the Biden border crisis, at the border. What are your perceptions on that? How do you view it?
The two words that I use a lot, and they're not mutually exclusive. It's incompetence and deliberate, right? Because a lot of it is deliberate, but a lot of it they don't know what the heck they're doing. And by undoing a lot of these policies, that they're making the wrong decisions. And the Migrant Protection Protocol, the Remain in Mexico program, that the Supreme Court ordered the Biden administration to reinstitute just this week. They're still fighting it. Now they're forced to do it, and they still don't want to do it. And they're only going to do it at certain ports of entry. They're only going to do it with certain amounts of people. That's not what the Migrant Protection Protocol is. Remain in Mexico means everyone remains in their home country to seek asylum or in Mexico. But the Biden administration refuses to follow the law, either the new law by the Supreme Court order or the old immigration law that's been in our books for hundreds of years. They disregard it all. I've been going down to the border since March, and the first thing I could tell you is it's lawlessness down there. If you're an illegal alien, you have absolutely more rights than a lot of the U.S. citizens. I've seen them board commercial airlines without any identification, something you and I can't do, Sarah.
Nope.
They get, there's a lot of child endangerment issues going on down there, but you and I would be charged if we did that to our kids, but not if you're illegal. And they
even right now with the mandates, as far as coronavirus, the COVID-19 mandates that they're enforcing in California and other places, New York, they're trying to enforce that. But they're telling me that, they tell the American people, well, people who are flying in are going to get tested. But what about those crossing the border? Dr. Anthony Fauci himself couldn't even answer the question because they're not testing anyone.
They're not enforcing Title 42,
right?
Which is still in effect. They could, but they're not. And so they have they've undermined our laws. They've undermined our sovereignty, which is something that I'm fighting for. And it's something that they're, I think, fundamentally changing the fabric of our country. Look at what AOC came out and said, that she wants to allow 800,000 illegal aliens to vote. We knew that's what they want to do all along. But I think it's more than that. I think they really want to change this country and, towards socialism, communism, whatever it is. It's not with the core values that I think that you and I share. But I focus a lot on the public safety issue and the national security issue. We have illegal aliens that are coming in here, criminal illegal aliens coming in here and committing crimes against our U.S. citizens. I speak to angel moms. I spoke to one just last night. That their son was killed. Another one with a little 3-year-old girl was just run over and killed by an illegal alien riding her tricycle in her cul-de-sac. There's too many of these stories where a lot of these aliens that are coming across now are prior deports. Some that I myself might have put in jail. They for sex offenses, drug offenses, violent offenses, served their time, got deported. But they're all coming back because it's wide open over there.
And they're not being deported. And they're not being deported. There's a reason. There's a reason why I wanted you to come on, and but I want you to make this, you have a very, very special announcement that I think is going to protect the citizens of Texas. And by the way, the citizens across the United States. I'm going to let you go ahead and make that announcement, and then we'll talk about why this is so important.
Well, because of all of this, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror. I always preach, step up and do something, serve at your local county, city council, county commissioner. And I kind of looked at my face and said, I'm going to do this. So I'm announcing here on your show today that I'm running for Texas Land Commissioner. And we're very excited about it. We're looking forward to making an impact in Austin. Austin has failed our citizens of Texas. And this office, the Texas Land Commissioner, has a great opportunity, and I will have the opportunity to secure that border. There's a lot of Texas public owned land on that border that we could put barriers. We could do a lot of things and also work with the private landowners and the ranchers. I've talked to them as I go to the border myself. I have been talking to them. They're willing to work with the state of Texas because guess what, Sarah? They're tired of seeing the criminal activity come through their properties. We have cartel members patrolling on the Texas side, armed cartel members patrolling on people's Texas ranches, private property. The state of Texas needs to make an arrangement and negotiate with these landowners to take over some of these lands and secure the border once and for all. Because if the federal government is not going to do it, we know that's not going to do it. The state of Texas needs to step up, and I'm unafraid to do it, and I will do it.
I know you're not afraid to do it, and that's just incredible to me that. And I've heard the same stories on private property, cartel members with weapons operating, again, with impunity because there's no one there. I mean, if you own the land, you're not going to go out there if you're 80 years old or your wife's living on the property and, to go out there and try to protect it by yourself. You really need the state or the federal government to come in and do that. And we can't do that without the right kind of land commissioner here in Texas. Since I'm a voting Texan now, since I'm a citizen of the state of Texas here, I'm a resident right here. I'm fully in support of what you're going to be bringing to this office. Explain as well why the office of land commissioner impacts local schools and other impacts that it'll have on the state.
Yeah, this is big. The Texas Land Commissioner oversees the funding that comes through that office. These monies that are acquired from the offshore drilling in the Gulf that's owned by the state of Texas this money is legislatively appropriated and comes to the Texas Land Commissioner's office, and this money is then allocated to the public independent school districts around Texas. And one of the biggest issues that I have is with critical race theory that's being taught at our school levels, at all levels, especially now, even at the elementary levels. And it's the indoctrination of our kids from the left and wanting to change our history. They want to incorporate and teach our racism and all these issues that we see with critical race theory. Well, I'm going to challenge that money. I'm going to challenge and oversee why this money is being distributed to these independent school districts that approve that. And that's another thing that the state of Texas should not be allowing this money to facilitate this type of teaching. Just in my city, I've been fighting for this for 3 years in Southlake, Texas, where we stood up and the community, I was part of this district diversity council that the left created, trying to, all these smoke and mirrors, creating a cultural competency action plan. Well, guess what? I was in the middle of that, and they thought, I guess they thought because of my last name that I was on their side, but they got it really wrong with me. I'm a strong conservative, and I bring my conservative values with me and my integrity, and I will to the Texas Land Commissioner's office. And I stood up and I challenged that here in my own city, and we have won. We have now elected conservative school board members, and it can be done the right way. But there's some books that are turning up in our libraries that are just incredible. If you see these pictures, they're pornographic, and we saw it in
Virginia. We saw it in Virginia,
right.
and this is crazy. It's not about burning books. It's about our 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds should not be reading pornography and being indoctrinated in this kind of bizarre critical race theory. Okay, as a Mexican American though, and me as an American, but from Cuban heritage as well, do you find it insulting that people just automatically assume all the time that we're supposed to be like, to the left and that we're going to be like out there with La Raza, screaming and trying to build like a bridge to let everyone in the United States they act like we don't have a voice unless the voice is on the left.
People ask me, Victor, when did you become a conservative? And my answer to them is I didn't become a conservative. I was born and raised this way. The most conservative people I know are my parents. And I grew up with those conservative values. And guess what? A lot of Hispanics have. The problem is that the left, and I give them the credit here, is they've done a good job in brainwashing the Hispanics and the minorities into voting for the Democratic Party, even though they disagree with the fundamental core of what that party, and that's abortion, that's family, and that's God. But once you bring those three things, Hispanics will be like, wait a minute. Technically, you're a Republican. That's what you are. You've just been voting the wrong way all these years. And so they're going to see that with me, that I bring true conservative values. I'm a political outsider. You know me, I'm not a politician.
Right.
What you get with me is the truth. I bring integrity, and I will make a difference.
I know you will. And I'm so excited. And I think that the more we get people, like minorities and as well as Hispanics involved in politics and involved in the conservative movement and involved in just not being defined by saying, look, I'm focused on what's best for our country, our national security, our children's education, our policies, a belief in capitalism, not in communism. I think we're going to see so many more people. I think that's what the Democrats are terrified of. They're terrified of you and me. They're terrified of people in minority groups standing up and going, well, you know what? I don't like what you've been doing. You're speaking for me, and I don't want you to. I'm going to speak for myself. And I think you're doing that. Before I let you go, I know I've kept you on the show for quite a bit of time, but I can't just let you go. How do you think things are going to look in the future? Now come 2022, you're running for office as Texas Land Commissioner. We've got midterm elections in 2022. We have 2024 around the corner. Just based on what you know is going on at the border, what you've seen happen under the Biden administration, do you see enormous change coming to our country?
It is enormous, great change coming to our country. You talk about waves and colored. This is not going to get redder than any wave ever, and it's going to start in the state of Texas. 22 all the way to 24, you're going to see a tremendous amount of positive change because even people on the other side are tired of it. This is not what they themselves even signed up for. They're like, we didn't even vote for that. And we're talking about the inflation. We're talking about gas prices. We're talking about everything that is affecting people in their everyday lives. We've seen it in the southern portions of Texas, in Webb County, in Starr County, these blue counties that turned red in the last election cycle. And I've been down with the people. And the reason why is some of the core values that they recognize that they share with the Republican Party. But also, they themselves came here legally, a lot of the Hispanics. And they don't want the people that are coming here, cutting the line and coming here illegally. And they're also afraid of the public safety issue. I mean, I was down in Del Rio, Texas. This small town has lost its small town feeling. It's lost its safety feel. They are very concerned. And it almost means like they don't care, Democrat or Republican. They want somebody that's going to secure their border and protect the state of Texas. And I'm going to try to do my best to save it.
I think you will. And you're not only protecting the state of Texas by running for Texas Land Commissioner, and you've already done an enormous job at protecting our nation as well with the passage of this law. I can't thank you enough, Victor Avila, for being on the show. I hope you come back because there's so much I want to talk to you about. You guys, this man has so much information, and you're still in contact with a lot of your sources, right, on the border. Yeah. And we'd love to get updates from you whenever you're out there. I'll be out at the border in the next few weeks working before Christmas. So I look forward to maybe I'll stop by Fort Worth and say hello.
We'll love to see you. And I'm going to give a plug here to the website, Victor Avila TX, Victor Avila Texas, Victor Avila TX for my campaign. And all the support is very much welcomed.
Anytime, Victor. I look forward to talking to you. Thank you for being such a great patriot and for protecting the great state of Texas and the United States of America. Thank you for all you do, and God bless you.
Thank you, Sarah.
I can't wait to bring Victor Avila back on the show. I mean, I think there's so much more we need to discuss and so much more that we can talk about and we can learn from. Folks, there is a chill in the air, so don't be caught with cold feet this holiday season. You guys know exactly what I am talking about. It's one of my favorite new brands. It's heat holders. Keep yourself warm this winter with heat holders. They make the warmest thermal socks around. I love them. I've given them to my daughter, to my son. I've told you that before. They're up in Wyoming and Montana, and they are staying warm up there with heat holders. Not only do they keep you warm, they do it because they use a 3-stage process with a cashmere-like advancing insulating yarn that's so soft to the touch and brushed on the inside. And it traps in the warm air so it stays closer to your skin, keeping your feet warmer, comfortable, and dry. And what Heat Holder says it makes the softest and most comfortable socks. Guaranteed, guys. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love these socks. Heat Holders will pamper your feet. Heat Holders also makes hats, gloves, throws, scarves, and so much more. Give someone you love that Heat Holders for the holidays. Go to heatholders.com and enter the code Sara, that's SARA. Go to heatholders.com, enter the code Sara, and save 15% off your order. Receive free shipping with any purchase of $25 or more. Give the gift of warmth, the perfect stocking stuffer, and gifts for everyone. Remember to go to heatholders.com and use the code Sara. That's heatholders.com. Heat Holders, making life warmer. Guys, Elon Musk is doing it again. And by the way, he lives in Texas. I'm so excited. I love saying I'm a Texan just to say that I live near Elon Musk. Although he lives in Austin, there's got a lot of work to be done up there. And he's also warned the people of Austin, don't turn Austin into what San Francisco became. But now Elon Musk made this really big announcement. And it affects me in a way too. And my husband, he listens to my podcast all the time. I love you, babe. Love you, Marty. But this is a kind of a big announcement for him and for anybody who's had serious optical nerve injury due to trauma, like my husband did during the war when he was fighting those horrible terrorists out there that took away his eyesight. He says microchips will soon be ready to implant in human brains in 2022. And why is this important? It sounds like sci-fi, right? But it's not. It's going to make a difference not only for people who have been blinded, but people with spinal trauma. It's a company that he has. It's called Neuralink. It's not really public. It's a private company, and it's a brain interface technology. This company was co-founded by this genius, Musk, in 2016. The story is up on my website. It's really an incredible story. Neuralink's been developing a chip that would be implanted in people's brains to simultaneously record and stimulate brain activity. It's intended to have medical applications such as treating serious spinal cord injuries and other neurological disorders. Now, Elon Musk, he is somebody who says what he means. It might not always come in the time that we want it, but here is somebody who's putting action where it belongs in changing our world. We've seen him not only move his company to Texas to build a bigger and better dream, but the private industry of going into space and going to Mars, his Tesla, the fact that he is basically, I think I posted on my Twitter, which is really funny, but I retweeted him when he was basically saying he wants to delete the president's budget bill. So he wants to delete it. And he said, even though, Tesla is this new innovation in energy, of course, he says he doesn't need the government's money to run his company. And I thought that was pretty smart. But right now, the big news is Neuralink. And he added, basically stated that standards for implanting the device are substantially higher. So when people say, well, gosh, won't people be worried about this, implanting, a chip in the brain? Well, our brain is like a computer. And I've learned a lot about the brain, and how it operates because of the injuries that my husband sustained. So if they could develop a chip that can be pliable to the brain, something that could resist degradation in the brain and could be something that connect with, I guess, our neurons, then we can make a big difference in the world for people that have been traumatically injured, spinal cord injuries, blindness. And what he's saying is that where they are at as far as this study is further ahead than even what the FDA requires. So they are way further ahead. These implants look like they're going to be happening, and I am very excited to be reporting on that in the future. So it should be 2022 is what he says, where they will begin implanting, and I'll keep you guys updated. Again, thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. It's so great to be here with you to bring you these incredible stories. I got to tell you, I was moved again by Victor Avila, what he has gone through, what he has done with his life afterwards to honor his friend Jaime Zapata and to honor Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency and all the great work that he is doing right now. That's something we can all learn from. We can all do better. We can all be a part of making a difference. And that's what you do every single day. And that's what I try to do every single day. Thanks again. God bless you, and God bless our great nation. Today, I'm joined by Rebecca Weber, the CEO of the Association for Mature American Citizens. It's also known as AMAC. The most important question, I think, for so many people out there is, how much does AMAC membership cost? What does it cost the regular consumer?
Yeah, so for $16 a year, okay, or less, you can join at a 1, 3, or 5-year membership. You get a couple of things. You get the benefits. You get a great subscription to a magazine. So for $16, you're going to receive a bi-monthly magazine. But your voice is now going to be heard in Washington. We take our marching orders from you. If you stand for faith, family, freedom, if you believe in the Constitution, if you believe in the greatness of America, if you believe in individual freedoms and everything you just said, Sara, $16 is not a lot of money to join the 2.3 million members that are really fighting hard to ensure that America remains the best country in the world.
Rebecca, thanks so much for being with me today. I'm honored to have you and AMAC as a sponsor for the Sara Carter Show. For more information, folks, visit amac.us/Carter.